Hello and welcome to another episode of Oh So Curious. We are back and we've got lots to talk about. There is a new movie called Twisters out there and it's making a lot more money than people predicted it would. We talked about that a couple of weeks ago and we were like, oh, it's scheduled to make like, I don't know, $40 million. And there it goes and it's made like $80 million. So we're going to get into that. We're going to look ahead to Deadpool and Wolverine, probably the biggest movie of the year. So we're going to dive into that as well. And we, of course, have all the DC news in the world for you. There's a new Joker trailer coming out tomorrow morning. So we're going to talk about that and so much more. So right as we get all that up and running, let's get this show started. Oh, hi y'all. How are you doing, Angelina?
Good. We're doing. It's been kind of crazy. So I'm excited to have a slower week and slow down a little bit. And after this, we're going to be catching up on all of my favorite shows, including the newest House of Dragons. So just you wait.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Cobra Kai? Cobra Kai is the one you should pay attention to. Cobra Kai is amazing.
Ew, no.
How was your weekend, John? Did you watch Cobra
Kai?
I
watched Cobra Kai. I watched the first part of season 6. Not as good as some of the previous seasons, but still really good. Can't wait for the drama and the fighting to happen at the Sekai Takai with the Miyagi-Do. It's very exciting. And but yeah, outside of that, I didn't really do much, but I did catch up on that, and that was very exciting. So go watch Cobra Kai on Netflix if you haven't already. It's amazing.
You know, there's a lot to talk about today, and it's been a weird, funky day in the world of Hollywood news. So I decided, all by myself, that we're gonna, instead of just doing the normal news, we're just gonna Toretto meter the news. So let's hit it.
As we should.
I don't have friends. I got family. You don't turn your back on family. Brother never told you never threaten a man's family? What's real is family.
Ooh, those dance moves, hell yeah.
I was honestly not anticipating that. Thanks, guys. I appreciate that. Here at Oh So Curious, we dance to all of the ridiculous graphics that Dan puts together. We love it.
Absolutely.
And Kat behind the scenes. We love her.
Yeah. Well, there's as I mentioned, there's a lot going on in the world of Hollywood. So let's dive straight into it. This is probably the best news of the day, at least, from my perspective. And we had this movie come out a few years ago called Nobody, which was a movie about a nobody, and Bob Odenkirk all of a sudden became like this John Wickian character. I mean, it was written by the writers or producers of John Wick, so it had a lot of similarities. Blew up. It had a fantastic run at the box office, so much so that they decided to go in and be like, you know what? Let's make another one. And now they are. And so we have news that Sharon Stone, who most recently was attached to, I mean, she's, picking her projects very carefully over the years, but she was, I believe, attached to the Blue Beetle movie that was coming out last year. And then, I'm thinking this is 2 years ago now because the movie came out last year.
Yeah.
But she was attached, and then she, things didn't work out with her contract negotiations. And ultimately, Susan Sarandon, joined the film, and
probably
I thought Blue Beetle was good,
better actor. So
yeah, I feel like Susan Sarandon was a better choice. So it was fine.
Yeah,
but nonetheless, now we know that Sharon Stone has joined this movie, the Nobody sequel with Bob Odenkirk. John, you had a chance to read this. What are your thoughts on this news? What did you think about the first movie? Does this make you more excited? And then what role do you think she's going to play in this film? Is she an antagonist?
Obviously, the villain. I haven't even seen the
she has to play the villain. That's
she's
I was just going to
play
say.
The villain. Yeah.
But yeah, she I mean, she's certainly an actress. She's definitely one of the actresses.
Wow. Okay.
So, but this is one of those movies where it's like, all right, I mean, they have like Bob Odenkirk is the guy you see it for, and then they had like a bunch of other they had like Michael Ironside and Colin Salmon and Christopher Lloyd in the previous movie, who all did like a really good job. So, she's there, and I'm sure she'll be fine. But obviously, she's, as Angelina said, she's probably going to be the main villain, which is cool, I guess. But I'm just excited that this is getting a sequel, because Nobody is definitely one of those cases where it's like everyone expected it to be just shitty diet John Wick, but it proved to be so much more than that. It was so funny. It stood on its own 2 feet. Bob Odenkirk did such a fucking great job.
He's a
The
great
action,
actor. I feel like
he's so
he's
great.
been so underrated for so
Yeah,
long.
I think so. Because
Yeah.
he was like a comedian for so long, and then like Breaking Bad fucking skyrocket,
Yeah.
similar to Bryan Cranston, skyrocketed the both of them. And the only thing I'm worried about with Bob Odenkirk is between the last Nobody movie, which is it's an action film, so it's action heavy, and I think he did some of his own stunts. It's just between that one and now, he did suffer from a heart attack when he was working on the final season of Better Call Saul. So I hope they take a lot of precautions with that, because we don't want to lose Bob Odenkirk to I know that's a little bit morbid. I hate to say that, but I mean, he is older. He's in his, I think, mid to late 60s at this point.
But you know what? They have so many stunt people that take over.
Obviously they'll take the
like,
proper precautions, but it just feels necessary to say, because I don't like, as you said, like, he's such a great underrated actor. I wouldn't want to, anything bad to happen to him, especially when action films, even with the most tightest and best stunt people, some things can go wrong, but I pray to God it doesn't. I don't think it will, knock on wood, but
why is
I think it'll be.
You're thinking of, you're like, wow, he's gonna die. Maybe he's
no, I just
having a
premonition. I go to the worst case scenario. I'm sorry, I go to the worst case scenario. I just think about like, oh, he's doing an action movie, heart attack. Like, okay, that's something I think about, and I just
he probably had a heart attack, low key, like doing something stupid, mundane, like golfing, or like sitting on a lawnmower or something. I don't know. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I'm sure, but like, obviously action would agitate that further. I'm just saying, it's morbid. I apologize. That's what
working on it finish should help, actually.
This movie is going to be fun. I'm sure of it. Bob Odenkirk is one of the producers. He's gonna have his hands all over this project in many different ways outside of just being the lead of the film. David Leitch, of course, of John Wick fame, is part of this project. So you've got a lot of good talent.
Who wrote all of them too. Is writing it again. So that's good. New director, so that's interesting.
That's true. Well, and as far as the plot goes, we don't really know what that's going to be. They're guarding that pretty closely. But Sharon Stone, I mean, hey, you can. I don't think you can go wrong when you add talent to your team, and she's probably going to add to the appeal of the film.
I don't know.
A movie like
this, I feel like with the '90s revival, she's a good pick.
I guess so.
But if nothing else, Bob Odenkirk's character in the movie is all about family.
I don't have friends. I got family.
Family was a big part of the, like, no joke. Like, he had was a family man, and then like his brother and his dad came in the climax of the movie and helped him out. It was a good time. But yeah,
absolutely.
The Toretto.
Go watch Nobody. It's great.
If you guys are ever wondering, I'm never voting for the Toretto meter. It's always these two. I'm like, why do we need that? But Dan loves it, so.
Don't. Okay. All right. Well, you know what? With that, let's move on to something else that I thought was. I don't actually know how to take this, but it's news. Netflix has unveiled a red band trailer for Rebel Moon, the director's cut, promising sexier, bloodier take on the Zack Snyder space opera.
Did you guys watch the trailer?
It's very Zack Snyder. It's very Zack
Snyder.
Yeah.
I didn't care enough.
Honestly, because I did watch Rebel Moon, and I watched it so much later than I think a lot of other people did. So I watched it like end of, maybe even beginning of this year. Like when the second one dropped, I watched both of them. So I feel like watching the trailer, it got me a little bit more excited to see it again because I do feel like they Netflixified them. Like it was almost surprising that Zack Snyder was the one who directed it. But with that being said, I don't know. I think the trailer was kind of interesting. It was kind of cool. I was like, yeah, I guess I'd watch it again to see. Like I liked Rebel Moon. I thought it was cool.
You know what I really struggle with this movie is this movie has the scope or meant to have the scope and scale of Star Wars.
Yeah.
But it's made like 300. Like the shot designs, and you could see there's so many sequences where they're using a lot of digital set extensions, which are very obviously digital. I mean, and I know Zack Snyder sort of has that look to his work now. Even with Batman vs Superman, where he had all the Warner Brothers money, he still did so much of it as completely CGI. You know, this movie, I just think like that hurts the look of this film. It makes it feel a little like more small scale, cheaper. This is what we talk about. The best Star Wars movies are the ones where they like shoot on location and you get a lot of, you know, physical sets. Where Andor, like even in the TV shows, like we're like, oh my god, Andor is the greatest Star Wars TV show of all time. And then the Acolyte and even Obi-Wan, like you could tell they were shooting on the volume, and it looks not only like it's a small, but it looks more limited. It looks a little like artificial. And unfortunately, I just feel like
it's
this
true
movie
vision, and we swear it's not just a marketing tactic.
Which it's just trying to replicate that whole. I mean, I don't know. Like, Angelina? What do you think about this?
So for me, because there have been certain movies that it really did feel like CGI, and it really did get me. I think because so much of this movie is. It makes you sort of displace logic already based off of like the storyline, where it is, the characters. You've got, I mean, it's Star Wars-esque in the sense that like you have different people from different planets. So you have like different beings. You've got robots running around like as people. So I think you have to displace so much logic in order to watch and enjoy this, just like Star Wars, that I don't actually notice the difference. Like you said, like the set extension. When I was watching the movie, that's not what I was paying attention to. And generally, if it's really bad, I will. Like if it takes away from the film, like I felt like in certain parts of Spider-Man and stuff like that, it was just like all over the place. The Spider-Man Across the Universe or whatever it was called. This looks better than, yes, I agree with you, The Watcher. I do. I'm excited to see this one. It looks gory, like it looks cool. But I like that 300 comparison you made because it does give that for sure.
Story by Zack Snyder, screenplay by Zack Snyder, directed by Zack Snyder, produced by Zack Snyder, edited by Zack Snyder, cinematography by Zack Snyder. This is a Zack Snyder project. Can you tell? You can tell because it's a steaming pile of shit. Ah,
whoa,
of course.
You're such a hater. I like Zack Snyder.
No, I just like to piss Zan off. That's all.
I was like, is there anybody you root for, or are you just always
yeah, like Netflix is doing a good job with producing David Fincher and Mike Flanagan stuff. So good on them for that. And they made Dark, you know, greatest show of all time. So, you know, Netflix has done good stuff. It's just, you know, trying to replicate the Snyder Cut and muted. All this stuff.
Dan,
it's just
here?
like
Yeah, no, I was muted. I was just saying I understand. It's as far as Zack Snyder's movies go, I mean, by the way, I differ on the whole Dark being the greatest sci-fi show of all time. I think you need to go watch Battlestar Galactica.
I didn't say it was the best sci-fi show. I said it was the best show of all time, period. But that's just technicalities.
That's just, okay, great. All right. You know what? And on that note, let's just see what Dom Toretto has to say about it. I'm at a loss for words.
You don't turn your back on family.
Yeah, turn back on family. Fuck you, Zack Snyder. Just kidding.
I think that's more in reference to Netflix just trying to replicate. Yeah, Netflix
that too.
On their yeah. But hey, let's take a look at the last of the news items that we have today, which is they're doing another reboot of I Know What You Did Last Summer. Like
who would be like
I don't like who asked for this movie. I mean, Angelina, you saw this. So what was your
who asked for it? Who the fuck is casting these people in it? You took the greatest 90s stars and you made like a movie, you made a second one, then you tried to reboot it like 10 years ago. It fucking
Not
failed.
even 10
Why?
years ago. It was 3 years ago. It got
Oh,
canceled
terrible.
after a
Was it
season,
really?
and then that was it.
It literally just
Yeah.
I just don't know why. Leave it. Like, I feel like they tried to milk the first round of the movie because there was a first and a second that had everybody in it, right? And then they made a third and a fourth that I feel like only had like maybe Freddie Prinze Jr. in. It was like a I Know What You Did Last Summer light. Like, it was bad. It back in the early 2000s. Like, they tried to make like a third movie and it didn't do well and it was bad. I remember watching it. And then they tried to reboot it, I guess just a few years ago. And I'm like, what? Who asked for it? Why? And why are you putting more money towards this? I don't want to see this.
Don't get it.
I think this is another attempt at going back into the well of IP and trying to find something that potentially has a pre-built audience. And obviously the movie, even though they weren't the biggest movies, they do have a cult classic status. And the actors they're casting here are all these up and coming rising actors like Madelyn, Cline. You got Camila, Mendes. Like, they're both been part of like franchises where you have a younger audience, whether it's on streaming, even with Tyreek Withers on Atlanta. So they're trying to reinvent, and hopefully, it sticks for the sake of the studio. But they're not going back to the book, which I think, John, we were talking about this before the show.
Yeah.
And the book is so different that you almost
It's
want,
so
like, if you want
different
to go
from
back
the
to the
movies
franchise
and the show.
Why not do that, right?
Yeah, that's what I say. If you're adapting a book and the movie like differs heavily, go back to book. That's what John Carpenter did for one of the greatest sci-fi horror films ever made with The Thing. He didn't want to copy one of his favorite movies, The Thing from Another World. So he's like, okay, I'll go back to the source material. So that's what he did. He went back to the source material. And guess what? Boom. Not at the time, because people at the time were fucking stupid, but it went on to become what is considered one of the greatest horror movies ever made. So you have that. So I think that would be interesting, like, to actually go back to the book, which was more like a murder mystery suspense film, and like do something like that, then just try to do what, like, redo, like getting all these pretty like stars to get
but
them
I don't
to
even
like
know who the last three people are. Like, who are the people? Like, I don't know who any of these people are.
I know Camila Mendes.
Camila.
And I know Jonah Howard King. I've seen his name somewhere.
Well, Madelyn Cline was in Glass Onion. Remember? She was.
Oh no, I don't remember that movie because
she was with Batista.
It was forgettable.
Character. Well, okay, fair. But I'm just saying that's what she.
Yeah, okay, I know her.
And of course, Outer Banks on Netflix. If you watch that show.
Oh, okay.
But John, you mentioned this is based on a book. The author really did not like the original adaptation of.
No, she hated it.
Of her book.
So the book was from the 70s. Yeah. And so the thing is, what they did with the movie, with, ironically, with Scream reinvigorating the slasher franchise, everyone was like going back, like, okay, let's make the next big slasher movie. And that's what they did with I Know What You Did Last Summer, but it was based on a book, and they changed it into a slasher movie, and the author fucking hated it.
What was the original? What is the original book about?
It's essentially a murder mystery. Like, nobody is like dying. It's nobody's getting killed. Like, I know very little of the book because I haven't read it. I just did some research for it when I was looking up. But it was more of a murder mystery. Like, for instance, the inciting incident wasn't like a drunk guy on the road. It was a kid. Like, they killed a kid by accident. And so then somebody figures it out, and I think they have to figure out who knows and who's like sending them things in the mail, like I Know What You Did Last Summer. And there's no like supernatural edge to it. It's just like a murder mystery.
But nobody dies other than the kid at the beginning.
I don't believe so. Again, I haven't read the book, and I don't want to skim it because I'm like, now I kind of want to read the book. So so it's like, that's essentially what it was. It's very like Hitchcockian, suspenseful kind of vibe. And so I feel like if you do that, that could be a little bit more interesting, but then people would expect more of the original film, and then they might hate it. But so that's like a whole rigmarole with that. But I would love for them to go back to because the original book sounded really interesting, and I'd love to see that rather than just trying to recapture like the original. I don't think we're
going to get anything of real substance with this cast.
Yeah.
Like
I don't know who they are. And
trash can. trash can TV.
I haven't seen it.
Made for 12-year-olds. Good. I'm so sorry to all of those that I'm offending, but like I literally tried to turn it on once because my younger cousin was like, "Oh my God, you haven't watched Outer Banks?" And I was like, "No, I'll check it out." And I did, and I immediately turned it off. I made it through 5 minutes. I was like,
okay.
no, terrible.
So it's like Lord of the Flies meets Love Island or some shit. Like I'm trying to figure this out.
Yeah. Oh, Outer Banks?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
That's a good description. That's
terrible.
I mean, what I'm excited about is, well, okay, so at least they have like Tyreek Withers and Sarah Pigeon, who are two very talented actors. I mean, the other two, I don't know the guy on the far right, John Howard King, as much, but I know like
I've heard
Tyreek
his
Withers
name,
was
I
great in
think.
Atlanta. Well, Jonah Howard King, and then
Yeah.
Sarah Pigeon is a Tony Award nominee. I'm not saying that means she's gonna sing in this movie, but I'm just saying it looks to me
It's just
like they've
weird.
put-
Like
Yeah.
it's just weird to me.
But
I don't
when
get
you
it.
think about
Especially
if
3
it's-
years ago, it failed already. Why are you trying again? Nobody wants to
I
see
don't know.
this.
I don't know. I mean, who knows? Maybe this movie will do incredibly well, and then after
We'll
doing
all
three
be
sequels, all of
eating
these-
our tongues, and then we'll just all look
yeah,
like
and
idiots.
the whole cast will feel like family.
What's real is family.
And on that note, we're going to wrap up the news segment because I mean I thought it was a little underwhelming today, the news segment, but we've got what we got here. Let's keep the ball rolling. Let's move on to the next thing. But guys, like and subscribe if you're liking the show so far. Thanks for stopping by. We're gonna move on to the next part of the show where we're gonna be reviewing twisters. Otherwise, in some parts of the world, they're known as tornadoes.
I'm on. Tornado, I'm coming to get you.
Video shot in the Chicago suburb of Oswego appears to show a massive tornado. It was just one of several reported across the region.
6 weeks of punishing storms have left a trail of destruction.
Good evening. A weekend of already devastating weather may be about to get even worse.
Look at that roof flying in the air.
Oh gosh, here we go.
Oh, wow.
This is absolutely unreal.
Twisters. This is a sequel to Twister from 1996, the Helen Hunt and Bill Paxton film, and it's a movie that was predicted and projected to make somewhere between $35 and $40 million at the opening weekend box office, but it came in with a fantastic like $80+ million. That's just the start of it. Not only has it made a ton more money than it was expected to make, it's also doing really well with its reviews, both from the critics and the audiences. So what is it about this movie that really makes it so good? Have Glen Powell, Daisy Edgar Jones found like some kind of magic chemistry there that just makes it work? Is the movie just that good with the plot? Do we really just have another one of those like under the radar hits? I mean, unfortunately, Deadpool and Wolverine's coming out next week, so I don't know how much more money this movie's gonna make, but it is a movie that could potentially have legs given the good positive word of mouth. So to talk about that, let's ask Angelina. You went and saw this movie, so I want to ask you first, and then John, we'll come back for your opinion as well because you were the skeptic. But Angelina, you went and saw the film. What were your thoughts? Did you like it? Did you hate it? What did you think?
No, I did like it. I would say that I wanted to like it even more. I was really excited about the movie. I think the graphics are incredible for this. You really feel in it. You're like feeling the shock from the twisters, but the storyline is a little lacking. I don't know if that was something that they could have fixed during editing. I did really like Daisy Edgar Jones and Glen Powell. Do I think they're the new star power? No. Sydney Sweeney and Glen Powell had way better chemistry. So it was kind of like two different people from two different worlds, two different acting styles showing up and like trying to meld together. I do think parts of it were really funny, like the I will forever just be walking around going twisters. Like it was hilarious. I wish I could meet me a good old tornado wrangler. Also, their accents are wild. His accent is supposed to be Arkansas, and that is pretty accurate, but her accent is Oklahoma, and it's real thick. And I'm like, I went to school in Oklahoma, and like, I don't think anybody actually talked like this unless they were from Texas. So it was a little bit much. But with that being said, like, there were parts of it that I really loved. There were parts of it that were just like, they could have just gotten into it a little bit more. And I feel like it just was missing like build up. Like, I feel like it was so close, but it was like not enough. It was like a solid 7.5 out of 10. I went with a friend and he sort of said the same thing. He was just like, well, originally he was like, what would you rate it out of 10? And I was like, maybe like 7.5. And he was like, yeah, I was going to say 7.5. Because like there are parts of it that are great. And then there are parts of it that just kind of missed out. But Warner Brothers really, I mean, so it was projected to come in at 50 million, right? In the box office, it actually came in at previews at 80 million. And I think a big part of that is because of how they marketed the movie. I don't know if you guys saw my out of theater review from last night, but they had this like twister set up in the movie theater and it was like a simulated tornado. Wild. This moment, this was good. Could this have been scarier? Could this have been way more A Quiet Place? Yes, it could have. And they missed out on moments like that. I just feel like they missed out on moments that could have been even like greater.
Do you feel like this movie meant for like more grounded in reality at times than trying to be over the top? Like this is an action movie about a disaster, like, you know, a disaster film.
I also thought it was weird because I did see that, right? That they were marketing it as an action movie. And I'm like, it's not really an action movie. It's like a thriller.
It's a disaster movie. It's a disaster thriller.
Yeah, it's not an action movie. There's no action here. Like that was like a weird.
Well, unless you count this picture between the two of them.
Action movie. What happened? They look cute here. Yeah.
I was just
they look like those people that date for 5 years but never actually end up together. You know what I mean? Like their chemistry is like missing something. I don't know what it was. It just wasn't there. And I think I would only notice that because I saw the movie that he had and the whole PR with Sydney Sweeney and like they have great chemistry. Like those two kind of.
I mean, anyone but you made a shit ton of money, so.
Did. Yeah. Well, they had great chemistry. They just.
Yeah, to the point where people made rumors about it, but let's not get into that.
No, I know. But because of that, I think this match was just missing something. I don't know. The movie was like missing something. It was missing some kind of magic, but it had all the right things. But yeah, I don't really. I know I saw the original Twisters movie, but I don't really remember anything about it.
It's most people's thought. Like, oh yeah, I think it was good, but it's just kind of there.
Yeah,
it's kind of like the thing is the reason like that movie was like is remembered at all is because of Bill Paxton. Like people love Bill Paxton. Like who doesn't love Bill Paxton? Everybody loves Bill Paxton. So you know. Like that's why people remember that. But like, I'm sure like 20 years down the line when they're talking about Twisters, they'll be like, oh yeah, I fucking love Glen Powell, man. Like Glen Powell, but it's like the movie, it existed, but Glen Powell, man, he's great. Or on the other side of the coin, Daisy Edgar Jones. Oh yeah, Daisy Edgar Jones. Maybe hopefully she gets big from this and then becomes a star. And then oh yeah, I heard Daisy Edgar. Yeah, she was great. The movie. Yeah, it happened, but like I remember them. Like I feel like that's what it's gonna be like, similar to how it was with the original.
Look, I feel like you guys are almost downplaying it because to me this is huge. Like we have seen movies like like Furiosa, pardon the trip up there, but that movie was supposed to make 35 million, 40 million, and it underperformed.
50.
And then Furiosa completely.
Oh yeah.
Fell off.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, and then we, of course, not only that, but then we also had what was the other one? There was another one that came out like right after it. Why am I blanking?
A Quiet Place didn't do super well.
A Quiet Place was, but it did open #1 at the box office. The Quiet Place did do well for itself. But there's been a number of movies that have just completely underperformed. It will come back to me. I'm thinking about a movie that The Fall Guy. It's so forgettable that I forgot the name of the movie. The Fall Guy came out, completely flopped on its face. Like, you have these movies we've had a really rocky first half to the box office this year. And I remember it was a couple of weeks ago, John, we were going through the news and we were looking at the long range forecast for July. And obviously we had like Deadpool and Wolverine like as like the #1 movie of the month.
Oh, yeah.
Which is the projections have only gone up since then. But we also looked at Twisters and we were looking at like it was 35-40, a respectable number for the kind of movie this is. But you know, it opens to 80+ million domestically in US and Canada. And then when you look at the global number, it's 123 million. This movie is already well on its way to profitability. It's gonna get there and it's gonna be in the black. That's great. I mean, and it's at a time where you have these two behemoth animated movies. We had Despicable Me 4 going past $600 million. Inside Out 2, we haven't talked about it in a couple of weeks. That movie has made Top Gun money now. It's made like $1.4 billion.
Yeah.
It's in the top 5 of all-time animated movies. It's getting closer, and I don't think it's going to beat it, but it's getting closer and closer to the Lion King, the CGI Lion King remake, not the OG Lion King, which is celebrating its 30th anniversary this year, and we'll have something about that later. But it's in the top 3, like Inside Out 2 and Despicable Me 4. So this is at a time where families have a lot of options. But even with that, they went and saw Twisters because clearly this movie didn't just get to $80 million because a bunch of guys or gals just families are going to see this movie. Do you think the fact that they didn't make this movie into something that was like a hard R or something like that where they just went all out, but they kind of kept it a 4-quadrant movie where a whole family can enjoy it? And a comment, by the way, from one of our viewers that really struck me, I think, as a good point, is the box office for this movie is a great indication that there is a demand for those traditional escapism movies. And I think more so than just disaster films, I think the traditional escapist fare for the summer, it's one of those things which, if you look at that concept, and you can then draw a through line between movies like Twisters, movies like Top Gun Maverick, like Barbie, like Oppenheimer. I mean, less so Oppenheimer, but like those other ones where it's just escape. Even Bad Boys 4, like escapist fare, where you're not going in there where there's a lot of like messaging of a particular sort. It's not a kind of movie that's a comic book IP film. It's just even though it's a part of a franchise, it's a movie that's just it's a summer film. You go grab a bucket of popcorn and you have fun at the movies.
I ate like a whole bucket of popcorn for sure. Yeah.
It's I mean, I love it. These are the kind of movies that used to light up the box office back in the late 2010s before the pandemic hit, and and we're still on the path to recovery of the box office. But I'm glad that we're seeing more of this. And I mean, look, I just hope we see less of the Furiosa and the Fall Guy and more of the Twisters,
Exactly, because like it's one of those things where it's like I don't care what makes money as long as it's making money. Like Twisters, I couldn't give 2 shits about Twisters, but you know what? It's fucking made double its box office projections. Good for Twisters. Hell yeah! Like Glen Powell and Anthony Ramos, Daisy Edgar Jones, all of them. I hope they get catapulted because of this because they're all really good actors. And hopefully the director can move on to bigger and better things too. And you know what? So good for them. Like
Glen Powell was absolutely the biggest highlight of this. He plays this Arkansas tornado wrangler. That's what he calls himself. He's hilarious.
Yeah, because he's just naturally. I feel like he's just naturally charismatic. Like he just has that vibe.
I mean, it is Glen Powell's role. We're just living in it, right? Like that seems to be the theme here.
Who wants to know what I think about Glen Powell's Batman? What?
Yeah, apparently some people in the comments are like, I want to see what her thoughts are. So,
Angela, you're gonna stick around for that, right? We're gonna talk about it later on in the show with DC Daily.
Apparently, the Watcher really wants to know your opinion.
Well, the Watcher, you're gonna have to keep watching, and we'll get to it. But in the meantime, guys, let us know in the comments what you thought about Twister. Angelina, you clearly love the movie, and it looks like it's a great film. It's got a very good Rotten Tomatoes score. It's making all the money in the world. It's coming out at a time where it's hopefully done enough business for itself to be profitable before the behemoth that is known as Deadpool and Wolverine is gonna hit the theaters. But before we get to the next topic on the show, we do have this movie. We talked about The Lion King just a few minutes ago. I talked about The Lion King a few minutes ago. The new one that made $1.6 billion, but the original The Lion King from the 1994 is celebrating its 30th anniversary this year. And if you happen to have a movie theater near you, they might be playing a 30th anniversary edition, so you can go back and watch it on a big screen. And I mean, this might be your only chance to do it for quite some time to come, maybe until the 50th anniversary, or the 40th, who knows? But in celebration of the Lion King's 30th anniversary, we're going to take a look back at a movie that a lot of us growing up really enjoyed, and even to this day can go look back and, have core memories attached to. So let's take a look back at the Lion King. And on the other side of this, we're going to look ahead to Deadpool and Wolverine.
See, he lives in you.
To this day, the first Lion King, the original Lion King, I think is at least for me, my favorite and probably one of the best animated movies of all time. But speaking of movies, because that's the only segue I got, Deadpool and Wolverine is coming out in a few days, and depending on when you watch this, it might be out. You might be waiting in line at the movie theater, or you might have already seen it. But any case, we're gonna talk about it because we are super excited to go see it. Angelina and John, I know both of you guys have differing opinions on this movie, but I'll start with you, Angelina. What are you looking forward to the most about Deadpool and Wolverine? Have you seen the latest trailer, the final trailer that had a pretty big spoiler for a lot of people? And are you looking forward to going to see this?
Didn't we watch it? It was the one where he said to Hugh Jackman told Ryan Reynolds to go fuck himself or shut the fuck up or something like that.
The latest trailer is one where, and spoiler alert for anybody who's watching who has not seen it, close your ears. But the latest trailer has Daphne Keene's X-23 coming back from Logan. She's, I mean, obviously grown up because years have gone by, and I have a theory as to how that connects. But it's fantastic. I mean, but even if you take that trailer out of the picture, because a lot of people don't want that to be something that they know about the film because it's a big cameo. What are your thoughts about this movie, just going into it, the expectations behind it, the fact that the MCU probably needs this more than a man thirsting for water in the middle of a desert?
Yeah.
What are your expectations for this film?
I feel like Marvel's slowing down and taking the time to get this movie right is the best thing that they could have possibly done. So I'm really freaking hoping that they got it
Marvel
right. I'm really fucking hoping that they got it right. Deadpool is always just a really good time. Like, I don't think anybody's ever walked into a Deadpool movie and walked out not smiling. You know what I mean? I think Ryan Reynolds has found a home in this character and has just made it so his own and so much. I mean, he is Deadpool, right? I can't see them apart anymore. So I'm really excited just to see the movie. Obviously, Hugh Jackman coming back is huge. He was the Wolverine of my childhood. So it's
the Wolverine of everybody's childhood, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up watching the X-Men. I love the X-Men so much. He was Wolverine. He will always be Wolverine. I haven't seen Logan yet, so I'm kind of wondering if I should watch it before I go to see this movie this weekend.
I would, because Logan is easily the greatest Marvel film of all time. So I would say definitely watch it.
I would say so, yeah. It's also, this movie sort of connects back to Logan and pretty much all the X-Men movies from the Fox era. At least the trailers make it out to be that they're going to go into the idea that there's a connection there. So you should definitely check it out. But the big spoiler, and John, I'm sure you saw the trailer, or if you didn't, you heard about it.
Daphne needs a suit. Give her a suit.
What do you think about the inclusion of? I mean, we don't know how much of a cameo that's going to be. Whether she's just going to be in a scene.
I do have a theory.
But
I do have a theory.
Go right ahead.
Because my friend offered me this theory. Shout out to my buddy Mark. But he makes the most sense with this. It's definitely going to be like a hallucination or a dream. It's not going to be. She's not actually going to show up. It's just going to be a hallucination, because I feel like that just makes the most sense. And I feel like that would be something that that they would do. Like, I know Marvel wasn't really hands-on with this because Ryan Reynolds like protected this like it was his child, and Fairsies with how, you know, Kevin Feige and Bob Iger are handling the MCU right now. So he's like, y'all motherfuckers are not going to fuck this up for me. I'm going, no matter what, if you do anything, I will kill you. Like, that's essentially Ryan Reynolds. He's like, I'm going to fucking protect this thing whether you fucking like it or not. So, you know, I think with Daphne Keane coming back, I think it's mainly just going to be, you know, it's just going to be a hallucination. Like, it's like he's just going to see her, and like maybe, you know, it's like, or maybe it's like a dream sequence and he sees her and it like reinvigorates him and that kind of thing. So I think that's what it's going to be. And it's not going to be for very long. It's probably going to be like 5 minutes, not even, and then that's it. So I don't think it's going to be very long. I don't think it's going to be, I don't think she's actually going to be there, and that's just kind of it.
You know, the
Not
Rob
to
Liefeld
piss in anybody's cereal, but
still gets
that's
me, by
the
the
most
way.
likely case.
That Easter egg in the background still
Yeah,
gets me.
Liefeld's just feet. Yeah.
But no, I think for me though, I had the opposite reaction. I watched and I thought about it. I'm like, why not just bring her? Because think about this. She's obviously older than what we saw her as in Logan. They didn't try to de-age her in some weird way, right? So this version of the character could be the same version of the Logan, the world of the X-Men from the Fox universe. They would be and she looks like she's aged the appropriate amount, obviously, because again, real life people age. So the amount of time that has passed between Logan and this film is how much time Daphne Keene's X-23 has grown up. And obviously her character survives at the end of Logan. Why not like make this an opportunity to bring some of those other X characters into the MCU alongside Deadpool? That, because I'm like, you could easily make that case, right? Like even if the Hugh Jackman Wolverine ends up getting killed off in this movie, and then we go into some kind of new version of Wolverine ultimately for the MCU, you could bring some of these other adjacent characters along, because ultimately they're gonna try to mix it all together anyway, right? Like, it's not like this Deadpool is stepping in for a one-off appearance. Like, I think Ryan Reynolds is here to stick around. Plus, you've got, of course, Secret Wars coming up. Like, why would you not do that? Like, what are your thoughts on the idea?
Right. I think I mean, it would, especially if this makes like $1 billion, it would be really fucking stupid of Feige not to ride that money train. So obviously they're setting something up. They're setting something up with Deadpool and all that. So yeah, it's gonna be big with the future with this character. I still don't think it's the huge, I mean, they've confirmed that they don't want to fuck up Logan, which is fair. I respect that. I'm still not going to see it, but I respect the fact that they want to respect Logan, and I'll give them that. But I don't think it's the same exact Wolverine, because they want to respect it. So it'll be a different Wolverine. It'll just be like an adjacent Wolverine, where it's like, because the whole thing with the multiverse is like there's a lot of worlds that are essentially the same exact ones. It's just like we only pay attention to the ones that have a lot of differences. So I think what they're doing is like, okay, it's like an X-Men, it's a Fox X-Men adjacent world where essentially the same shit happened.
Well,
just
I think
Logan
it's pretty
didn't happen
clear
like
with
that.
this third trailer. Like, sorry to cut you off, but it's pretty clear in this third trailer that the version of the Wolverine that we're getting here is different, because Deadpool clearly says, in my world, you were a legend, you were the X-Men. So this Wolverine is clearly not the Logan Wolverine.
Really not.
He's another variant. But what I am saying is, like, obviously, but they're protecting Logan, that storyline.
Yes.
But obviously, like Daphne Keene's X-23 and those other newer X-Men characters, you could bring some of them across. And she's obviously, a incredibly talented actress who would probably love to be back. Clearly, she's back for this movie. Which, ironically enough, I got served this short where on YouTube where she was talking about some other movie that she's recently come out with, and they were asking her a question about, like, if somebody were to ask you, are you going to be in Deadpool and Wolverine, there's all these rumors, what would you say? And she had to like kind of play coy, and then literally the next day they dropped this trailer, and there she is in the trailer. So it was just ironic to me that I got served that the day before. And of course the marketing for this
I actually loved her. And did you guys ever see the show His Dark Materials?
I watched the first season. It was really good.
It got canceled after like 3 seasons, but I remember being home one Christmas and like I binged the whole thing.
I watched the first season. I liked it. I watched like 1 or 2 episodes into season 2. I'm like, yeah, this blows, and then I stopped watching.
Oh no, I liked it. Yeah.
I just couldn't get. I don't know, something about it. I like just couldn't get into the second season. I'm just like, this is just isn't interesting anymore.
Oh,
Which is a shame because I wanted to get in it because I like her and I like the other actor too. I don't know his name.
Is that the 20th Century Fox sign? Why did I just see that?
Yeah. It's ridiculous. But yeah,
Wow,
I don't think they canceled it. I think they just adapted the 3 books.
They did.
Yeah.
I think
You're
they
right.
just wrapped it up. They were done. Yeah.
They wrapped it up. Yeah.
I'm also really excited to see Emma Corrin in this. She's one of my
looks
favorites.
Fantastic.
So
yeah, they're.
I mean, most people know her.
I've
from
heard
The Crown,
great things
but,
about them. They are a very good actor. So they
I
are
saw this,
playing they're playing a comic character that's like Professor X's sister in like another universe or something, and it's like it's very weird with how they're doing it. It's like he sensed her evil in the womb and like absorbed her, and then she like created herself again. Very weird character.
Very
like,
Legion-esque, right?
Yeah, very Legion-esque.
Very Legion-esque.
Will never be that good, but but it's like kind of has that like surreal idea to it. I skimmed the Wikipedia page. I'm like, I don't know who you are, but
wait, I'm also just catching. Is their gender pronouns are they them, not she?
Yes, I believe they are non-binary.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I think they're she they. I don't like to. I always play it safe and say they because I don't want to piss people off.
Yeah, no, that's totally fair.
Yeah,
I mean, in
it's
general,
she they.
I
You're
love
right,
Emma Corrin.
John. Yeah, it's she they. That's what.
Okay, it's she they. I always
this
like
is according to her Instagram profile, but yes, those
she
are
they.
her pronouns.
Okay.
Love.
By the way, I saw this cool story. Everybody was running with this. The whole idea that Ryan Reynolds is like, I personally met Madonna to get her permission to use Like a Prayer, and then she had a great note about the scene where the song's involved. I think it's fun. Another marketing element, but I was like, this is.
Oh yeah, of
fun.
course.
That's honestly so awesome, though. Like I love that immensely.
Yeah.
That also,
I mean,
that
they got
you
Celine
sing
Dion
my
for the
favorite
sequel. I
songs.
mean, you know.
Come on, like they had the whole James Bond.
Why don't you come up here and sing Spider-Man?
I don't know though. You guys, I feel like people die in this movie. A lot of the soundtrack for this is so sad.
Well, you know when they play The Greatest Show, it's just gonna become a musical, and then
Hugh
Jackman's
most
probably
definitely.
gonna do singing and dancing as the Wolverine.
Do you think it was Ryan Reynolds' idea to pull that song in, like as making fun of Hugh Jackman?
Yeah. Of course it was. Of course it was. Although speaking of, I just got an email that the first reactions for Deadpool and Wolverine just got out, and they are very overwhelmingly positive. Like people are saying that this is perfect. They over-delivered in the best way possible. I had a blast. Perfect buddy cop bromance dynamic between the two of them. It's like best MCU movie ever. Masterfully crafted, action-packed, absolutely perfect. Great experience. So awesome. Let's fucking go, as the trailers have said. Well, I'm not going, but I hope you guys enjoy it because I hope you're. I have a bit of a. I have a morality reason for the reason I'm not seeing it. So the thing is, the whole point of Logan, the film Logan, was supposed to be a swan song for.
You're kidding, right?
It was supposed to be a swan song for Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. That it like was a perfect bookend.
You feel so strongly about a movie that you can't suspend your disbelief for 2 hours.
No, because it's like the whole it cheapens what Logan was trying to do, and Logan was so supremely excellent.
You can't just live in a universe where like that doesn't exist.
Because it's not Wolverine coming back. It's the fact that like Hugh Jackman came back for like to me, what is essentially a kind of cash grab, Remember Berries kind of sequel. So I'm just like, I just can't get behind that. Like I hate the fact that Hugh Jackman just tore everything that he and James Mangold did with Logan just to come back for a Deadpool sequel. I'm like, I just can't. I can't get behind that. Like, I hope people enjoy it. I hope it makes money. I hope a lot of people like it. I just can't do that. Like, I can't get behind that and I want to stick by my morals.
Should
So
Hugh Jackman
I'm not
just
going to be
pick up
watching
his
it.
hat and never act ever again? He's just dipping out.
No, not never act ever again. Just don't come back as Wolverine ever again. That was the whole point of Logan. Like, it was supposed to be his swan song as the character, you know?
I have so many things I could say, but we're gonna just leave it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm excited to see it. It's gonna be a good time.
I'm glad
It's
you're
always a
excited
good
to
time.
see it. I'm sure a lot of people will like it, and you're muted.
And you're muted.
Sorry, I keep talking and I'm muted. But I was gonna say this. I love this comment here. That it's, and I'm being a bit facetious, but Wong Updates is like, it's a beautiful love letter to cinema. Sean Levy is a true auteur, putting him in the ranks with Zack Snyder and Wes Anderson. Cinema is back, baby. John, what are your thoughts about putting those three names together?
That is like the three most different names you could possibly imagine. Like,
That's a very
sure.
comment.
I mean, they are. I guess you can categorize them all as auteurs, but like, I don't know. Well, I don't know if Sean Levy is one. Zack Snyder, I would describe as one, not a good one, but he technically would be one. Wes Anderson's definitely one, but it just, I don't think you know what that you think that means. It's inconceivable.
I don't think he realizes what he's saying there. But yeah, like, people are excited. I mean, of course, this movie will hit everybody different. The Watcher was saying this is one of those, don't look at the reviews, go judge it for yourself. I think these first reactions coming out now is obviously, it's a good sign that people are heaping praise on it. What I did want to do is quickly discuss the box office expectations. This movie's long-term forecast has just gone up and up. Last month, when we were looking at like what's going to happen in July, we were looking at like, I think it was like 120, 150 was maybe the high end, or 150 to 180. Now like 180 to 220 million is the opening weekend.
Yeah.
This would be
huge,
the biggest opening weekend for the MCU since Spider-Man No Way Home.
Wow,
which made like
Borderlands
260 million.
Dog shit. Holy shit.
Dude, they haven't been, there's no marketing for that movie.
Yeah, because nobody wants to see that fucking movie. It looks like shit.
This article on Total Film kind of talked about how record-breaking this movie could be.
Oh, yeah.
Especially, there's one thing in here that I think really, changed my perspective on the whole film. They talk about how Spider-Man No Way Home was its box office projections literally going into opening day. We're still saying 130 to 175 million, but no one knows, because there's a possibility that it can go over 200. And then not only did it go over 200, it made 260, which was the second highest opening weekend of all time, only behind Avengers Endgame's 357, which I don't think any movie is ever going to beat. But this movie's projections are 180 to 220 million, which means on the low end is going to have the highest opening weekend for any rated R movie, which is owned currently by the original Deadpool, which opened to 132 million, and then Deadpool 2 and the first Joker movie. So this will, even at 180, will completely outnumber those films. And
oh yeah,
if it goes beyond 200, there's only like literally, you can't even count them. You can count them on two hands. That's how many. There's fewer than you can count on two hands movies that have made more than 200 million in opening weekend. If it does that, do you guys think, and then combined with the first reactions, the initial reactions, do you think there's a chance this movie does make $1 billion? Or like it's because Inside Out 2 made 1.4 billion and it did not open to 200 million.
I think it's going to be huge. I think that
I could see it straight up. I can see it making almost 2 billion.
Ooh, that's huge.
That's big,
I mean,
especially
Spider-Man
for an R-rated
No Way Home
movie.
Made 1.8. So.
I think it could. I don't know if it'll get to 2 billion. I don't want to say.
I feel like it'll hit like 1.8 for
1.
sure.
1.8, 1.9. I feel like it would just get there, but not totally get there. But then Marvel will re-release it a year later, and then it'll get to 200 billion. So, or oh my god, 200 billion, 2 billion. Jesus Christ. But yeah, I
it's
could
gonna make that in
its
its sleep, 200 million. But yeah, I mean, this is, I think, more than any other movie this year, this was the one that people predicted would make $1 billion. Now, I know Inside Out 2 already did that, and there's a chance I don't think Despicable Me is going to get there because it's slowed down too much and it's been out for too long now, and the reviews aren't quite behind it. But this movie, I think if it has the reviews that we need. Now, right now, if I go to Rotten Tomatoes, I do not believe I will refresh the page, but I do not believe the embargo has lifted. So we don't have any reviews for this yet. It does concern me a little bit that the review embargo is going to come off this late. But for a movie of this scale, I mean, it almost doesn't matter what the reviews are for opening weekend. It's all about the hype and the marketing, and they've done everything possible.
Yeah.
And who knows, maybe some TV ad in the days leading up to it is going to like blow all of that out of the water even more. But we'll see. Ultimately, I think this movie easily crosses $1 billion, and it's probably going to be on track if it's good. That's the key point, because there is that distrust of Marvel right now in the world where people are cautiously optimistic. I bet you the average moviegoer is going to be cautiously optimistic about this. But if the word of mouth is great, then this movie easily crosses $1 billion. But if it isn't, it could be a Batman v Superman, right? Batman v Superman made 900 million almost, but if it was good, or like if it had really good reviews, I thought it was good. But if it had really good reviews from audiences and critics, it could have made 1.5 billion in its sleep. But I mean, we'll see. We'll see. I mean, let us know, guys, what you think in the comments. Whether you think this movie is gonna make all the money in the world. I mean, the projections say it is, and it might be the second highest, opening weekend of all time, just behind Avengers Endgame. And it could, let's see if it even hits 300 million. If 220 is the high end and it's gonna outdo it, then maybe it can get there. But hit the like button, hit subscribe, and then check back in next week when we do review the film. But until next time, we do have a bunch more to do on the show, so we're not going to say goodbye just yet. We're going to be back with Angelina's opinions, let's call it, on possibly having Glen Powell join the DCU. And John, of course, I'm sure has a lot to say about that. We got to talk about what we're expecting from the new Joker trailer that's literally dropping in hours from now. But before we do that, let's take a look at a review of Twisters from Brigit, who also went and saw the movie, Angelina. So you loved it, but now let's hear what Brigit had to say. And then on the other side of it, we'll have DCU Daily.
And I have to say, long story short, that I really enjoyed it, surprisingly.
Dodge whatever's in there. It's big and it's moving fast. Drive. Go, 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 go.
I know it's still in its opening weekend, and I got the last seat in my theater last night, so it's pretty hot right now. But the tomato meter score is 78%, and the audience score is 93%, which I feel like goes to show that the people are pretty much in agreement with me right now. And if you read through some of the reviews, I felt like a lot of them were pretty spot on to how I felt as well when watching this. And it's really interesting to compare to the original 1996 version of Twister, which the tomato meter score was 67% and the audience score was 58%. So, I don't know, I feel like this sequel is holding up pretty well, which, as far as sequels go, is very unusual. They usually tank. I really do recommend you to watch this film, especially if you are a fan of the original Twister, like I was. We had it on VHS growing up, so I did watch it a couple times. I noticed right away a lot of this little bits just as an ode to the original. It includes some of the same lines and the same kind of setup. It does have like the same kind of guy that Glen Powell plays. Such a great casting choice for this. I really love to know that same kind of character. In my opinion, he does even better. He's so good at that kind of role. He's so funny. So even if you're just watching this film for him, I think you're still really going to enjoy it. I think it does a really great job at kind of nodding to the original, while at the same time being able to kind of come into its own and have its own little story. It really does feel like a very thrilling experience. It feels like you're on a roller coaster, honestly. I feel like, for me at least, natural disaster movies are like the scariest thing ever. If they're not horror, I think that they should be, because apart from ghosts and fairy tales, this kind of thing is so scary because it can really happen. It's really thrilling in that way. It'll get your heart racing for sure, especially towards the end. I found myself gripping onto this movie chair. And then also too, it's also really emotional. The topic that it deals with. I feel so lucky to not have ever gone through that, but the way that you watch it in the theater, it's so immersive. It really feels like you're going through a tornado, and it's terrifying. And it's also heartwarming at places, so you'll laugh, and you'll cry, and then you'll have the ride of your life on this. And if you want to wait until it comes out on streaming, like if that was your plan, don't. I feel like this movie is it's the only kind of thing that you have to watch in theaters to really get drawn into it in the same way, to get that experience, to feel like you're there. Spoiler alert, there's one point where they're in a movie theater hiding, as a shelter from a tornado, and the movie screen gets ripped off into the tornado, and it's almost like an Inception moment, because you're like, oh my god, we're watching this on a movie theater, so that could be us. It's a really, really riveting watch for sure. I feel so lucky to never have gone through that, but it gives you a glimpse into what it would feel like. If anything, made me think back to like going through Hurricane Katrina as a kid, and just, oh gosh, being so scared of the wind and the rain, and watching our treehouse fall down. Luckily, the other way and not on our house, but it's the same kind of feelings. And I knew friends growing up who went to visit, and then there was a hurricane at the pool, so we all had to hide in the bathroom, shelter, and one of our friends, the pool umbrella was flying in the air and hit him in the face. Luckily he was okay, but it's just those things that, it's real, and it's really, I think, just a great movie to watch. And I also might be biased too, because I am from the South originally, so I think just watching sometimes all that farmland and the kind of whole setting, it always makes me feel like I'm back home a bit. And seeing my grandpa's farm. I think it's been a good while too, enough from the original that it's like, okay, I think we were ready for the sequel for sure. So I really hope that you guys go out and watch it. Definitely make sure to see it in theaters, and I really hope that you enjoyed it as much as I did.
Hello and welcome back to the show. And today we are getting into the DCU Daily part of the show. This is a special Also Curious edition where we have DCU Daily to finish things off. So today there's a lot to talk about in the world of DC. Of course, we have Superman still out there shooting. We'll try to see if there's any updates. The last I checked, there wasn't a ton to really glean into. It looks like they really moved the production behind the scenes again, where it's all hidden away and in indoor sets. But while Superman is away filming behind closed sets, we do have lots to talk about in the world of Batman. And we had some, fun comments from from Friday's show that we're gonna get into as well. And John has a bunch to talk about there. But the big news that we want to get into to start things off is it's not really a confirmation, but it seems like Glen Powell has followed James Gunn and the director of The Flash, who I still am forgetting the name of.
Andy Muschietti.
Andy Muschietti. I don't know why. I forget his name every time. But is it one of those things where he actor follows director and director on social media, so he must be in their next project, or is there more to it, John? Like, what are your thoughts on this social media activity? And then before we you know what? All right, Angelina, you go first. You go first. How about, what are your opinions on this? And then would you like to see Glen Powell as Batman?
How many people follow James Gunn on social media? That doesn't mean anything. And even if James Gunn were to follow Glen Powell back, that's not a confirmation of anything. They could have met at an event and taken a shot together and been like, hey, let me follow you on Instagram. You're fun. Do you know how many people that I follow on Instagram that literally I met once in my life? I'm just like, yeah, cool, love it, bye. That's not confirmation of anything. That is the biggest, jump in possible history.
Oh, yeah, most definitely. Most definitely.
What the hell?
We hard agree on that one. He's followed by 3 million people, almost 3 million people, James Gunn. So,
and it's also, anybody who's gonna really love DC is gonna follow James Gunn because he drops little nuggets all the time. That doesn't mean anything.
And the fact that, Glen Powell, he said he wants to play Batman, and he probably just did that because he's like, hey, I want to do it. Please let me do it. Thank you. So he followed the director who's directing the next Batman movie that isn't Matt Reeves associated. And then, also the big honcho, the big guy. So, of course he's going to do that. He wants to. Who wouldn't want to play Batman? So, of course he wants to do that. He wants to play Batman. He's like, James Gunn, I'm following you. Please notice me.
That's exactly. He's kind of being like a pick-me girl there. He's like, wait, hey, I'm here. I'll just follow you.
I just
Do you
did this
see me?
disaster movie that made 80
Can you-
million in the first
how does-
weekend.
You know, I'm kind of popular now. Can you like check back and just check back? I kind of want to play Batman. That's exactly what he's doing.
So no,
And
I
honestly,
think
good
I
for
think
him,
it's a
because I love
it's
that
a
marketing,
total. It is. You know what this is? You know what I'm holding right here? This invisible bowl. It is a gigantic heaping bowl of bullshit, because that's what this is. It is. This doesn't mean anything. It just doesn't mean anything.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
it means nothing. It just
Like,
means Glen Powell really wants to play Batman, so he followed the two of them, and awesome, great. Doesn't mean he's gonna do it.
Also,
There's,
who
and plus
fucking
there are
wrote
better
this article?
contenders.
Y'all couldn't find any better news. Like, literally, Biden just dropped out. You have no better news here. Like, this is wild to me.
This is DC,
They're tracking
so
who's following
DC
who.
Comics, not Washington
following-
DC. So,
No, I know, but like, still, it's wild to me that you guys are like that. There are people writing articles based off of like these weird super sleuthing. Like, what? That has nothing to do with anything. It's just Glen Powell was like, "Hey, I want to play Batman. I'm gonna follow you, James Gunn." Like, that's it.
That's it.
An
But
IG follow, not
the
a-
watcher wants to know your opinion, Angelina. What if
on
let's say
him being Batman?
on him being Batman? Yeah. What are your thoughts in terms of what you see?
Yeah, it's kind of weird, actually. I think he has too much charisma, actually, to play Batman.
I think he would be a great Bruce Wayne. I don't think he would be a good Batman. Like, he would be the charismatic playboy. I could see him doing that, but I don't think I can. I don't think I could see him as doing Batman. I can't.
Yeah.
I can't. Like, the thing is, like,
To be
I
fair, though,
remember
couldn't
somebody.
see Ben Affleck doing it either. And
I remember somebody recommended Jake Gyllenhaal, and that's the only one I can see, because he's the perfect age. He can do both, and he would just be so perfect.
I think he would suck it up.
I'm just gonna say this: David Cornsweet and Glen Powell have already done a movie together, and it would. I mean, you know, it would.
Oh, maybe
so they have
David
some-
is putting in a good word for him.
Maybe I'm
Is that
just
what you're
saying. I
referring
mean,
to? Maybe.
he's got James Gunn's ear, so it could be. I'm just.
Also,
while we're at
to
it,
be
you know?
to say this, I was talking to them about before the show. If you guys have seen Twisters, you get to see David Cornsweet. He has it's like a supporting role, but honestly, I feel like he got so lucky with the timing of the filming and the release of this movie, because his character is so fucking anti-Superman. Like, it's so corporate America, so like such a hater, just bad. I would never want him to be my Superman, because I don't think that man would come save me. So I'm excited.
Well, then he would be perfect for Zack Snyder's DCEU. So, you know.
That's true. That's true. But with that being said, I'm now more excited to see Superman, because I'm like, interesting. Y'all got to see something that I didn't see in Twisters, so I want to see it now. I want him to come save the world. And
John,
he's the right
but,
age for Gunn's vision and height and build. Glen Powell is the right height and build. I guess so. That makes sense. Yeah. She's like,
it's also like between Alan Richson, because these are two very different visions of the.
Yeah.
Like, because I was gonna. Okay, my question to you guys. Alan, it's funny we didn't use the news intro today, because in the news intro we have Alan Richson like, fine, I'll yell it off the rooftops. I want to play Bruce Wayne. I want to be Batman. So obviously he wants to, be there. But between Alan Richson, he wants the role. Between Alan Richson and Glen Powell, because they're so very different in terms of, I mean, obviously the physicality of it, but also in terms of acting style and what they're capable of and what they have on their resumes. Would you guys have a preference if those are your two options? I mean, obviously there are probably more options than that, especially when it comes to actually casting the character. But between those two, who would be your favorites to pick? Would you pick Alan Richson or Powell? Because they're
Can I volunteer? Because I feel like I would do a better job than the both of them. Like Alan Richson, he would be a good big Batman. Like, if if you want to go for more of like the Ben Affleck Dark Knight Returns vibe, then I would say Alan Ritchson, because that dude's fucking huge. He's like 6'6", and he weighs like he's like 300 pounds of pure muscle. So obviously, if you want like a big Batman, and especially to be like contrary to Robert Pattinson's more smaller, more like detective style Batman, I would say go for Alan Ritchson. But the problem is, the dude can't act. Like, I'm sorry. I know people are going to be like, oh, yeah, but he played Reacher. He could beat people up and be smart. He's like, yeah, the thing is, he can, like, be... the character of Jack Reacher is smart. Can Alan Ritchson play smart? Not really. He just mouths lines. Like, he reads lines. That's what he does.
I don't love him. Like, I also just don't think he has the gravitas to play Bruce Wayne. Like, Bruce Wayne is this really, really crazy, intelligent, wealthy, grounded playboy. Like, he doesn't give me that. He gives me, like, big teddy bear vibes, or,
and
like
he would be like... He would be like a blue collar. He sells blue collar vibes.
Yeah, he does.
He works as Jack Reacher. He's like a blue collar,
like, very high level
vibe,
very intellectual. No,
and Glen Powell. I feel like Glen Powell will get the mask of Bruce Wayne, where he has to like be like, he has to pretend to be this like charismatic playboy. I think Glen Powell could do that very well. I can't see him as brooding Batman though. I can't.
Yeah, he like doesn't have what I can always picture his face, but Dark Knight, Batman.
Christian Bale.
Yeah, Christian Bale had that sort of suave,
right?
You know, but like sort of that brooding.
No, that's a good word. That's yeah.
He had that, right? And for me, he defined Batman as Batman for me for the majority of my childhood. And of course, I had seen the Michael Keaton Batman. I think Michael Keaton even had that same sort of, it's like this suave, like not outwardly charismatic. Like he did play some fun different roles in the 90s. I remember when he played this like magical snowman, which was like hilarious.
Jack Frost.
Yes, he did. He played Jack Frost. But I don't see that from Glen Powell. Like he's just, and not to say that he can't surprise us, but even in Top Gun, where his character was like a little less kind, I would say his character was like a little bit more of an asshole. That still to me is not.
Yeah, Batman isn't an asshole. He's just kind of
reserved.
He's gritty. He's brooding, you know?
Yes. And so I just, at the moment, can't see it. What is this? I haven't seen that movie.
This?
Yeah.
That's the
Guernsey Literary and the Potato Peel Pie Society. That's a name. Yeah. That is a name of a film.
Maybe I should watch it. Wait, so we skipped a couple comments, Dan. One was like Glen Powell could play. Well, there was another one that said that Glen Powell could play like a
like a Neil Adams type Batman.
Yes. Yeah. But it's funny because Powell said that he would play more of a Keaton Batman. Like that would,
which barely qualifies as Batman, but that's
that's
a discussion for another day.
That's what Glen Powell himself said that he was like, I think I'd play more of like a
he wants to play less Batman and more Punisher in a Batman costume. All right, that's fine. I just, but I will say I liked, was it the Watchers comment who was like Chris Pine, as people have wanted Chris Pine as Hal Jordan for years, and the thing is they revealed there was a rumor with the age ranges.
Trey Daniels comment, by the way.
Yes. Trey Daniels. Sorry, Trey Daniel. Late 30s, early 40s. Chris Pine is 43. So I think he's right in that age range of who they want for Hal Jordan. And I think another person said John David. They wanted John David Washington as he was one of my recommendations, but I think he could do it really well. I know John Boyega is in that age range. It was like 27 to 33.
Okay.
So I think they could, but that's getting off topic. So
have you looked at a Chris Pine photo lately? Because
he can get a haircut and shave.
Exactly. Like just because he walks around with a beard, right? You know,
No, he looks like he's in his 50s. He did not age well. I don't know what drugs he was doing.
He can put some hair dye in his hair, get a haircut.
That is not all the issue. He looks like substantially older than he is, which is weird. He's only 43. So I don't know.
I don't
Can
know.
he play a superhero?
He
I'm
still
not
shows up
sure.
in movies with a clean shave, and he looks like 10 years younger. I mean, I think he
When?
can do it.
Which one?
They're about to do another Star Trek movie with him. I'm like, he's gonna play.
I don't know if that's
Kirk.
happening. To be
Is
fair,
it? Did it die? Is it? Oh my
I think
god!
it's
Like
dead.
that movie
I think it's dead.
has died like 5 times. It's got like 9 lives. I mean, but hey, look, Glen Powell already has history. He's practically already met Bane. So you know,
He's a baby here.
Yeah, he's a little baby.
He's so young.
That was 12 years ago, so you know.
Wow.
time to go mobile. You know, like it's except now Glen Powell will be the one going to chase after Bane. I mean, if they do Bane, they'll have to
I
see.
don't know. That's the case. I
Um,
think he really wants to play him, but I don't think he'll get there. But that's okay. We'll see him in other good stuff, you know.
Yeah. But John, like we have a lot to talk about today with DC Daily. There's more
Yes.
than just the Glen Powell situation. We have to talk about the show that's come out and really caught the eye of a lot of fans and hopefully new
Hell
fans
yeah.
because all the fans of the Harley Quinn show and HBO Max or just Max,
All three of
looking
them.
forward to it. All, dude, it clearly the show has more than just 3 fans. But Kite Man,
Oh, sorry,
episodes
5.
1 and 2. Okay, great. I'll give you that. What did you think about Kite Man? I mean, Angel, before actually we get into it with John, Angel, did you have a chance to check this out, Angelina? Do you know what this
I
is?
literally don't even know what this is.
No, this is all right.
Literally no. I'm like, huh?
So John, what are your thoughts on episode 1 and 2? Episode 3 comes out later this week, but we have episode 1 and 2 already out.
Yes,
the 2 episodes
that
premiere.
came out Thursday,
So-
and it was awesome. It was so fun. It has that you know what? It has that Harley Quinn vulgarity, like of the animated
Mhm.
show Harley Quinn, but without Harley Quinn. So that just went like an F to an A. Like perfect. We don't have the shittiness of Harley Quinn, but we still have that funny humor that was actually good in season 1 and then dipped. And then now we have Kite Man. Hell yeah. And we have Golden Glider, who I think was definitely created in this case as like sort of a please forgive us for fucking over this development we had for Kite Man and Poison Ivy. Please forgive us. And I still won't forgive you for that, but I do love Golden Glider. She's really funny. Her and Chuck have really great chemistry with one another. Lance Reddick this is one of his many posthumous roles as Lex Luthor. He did a really great job. You have Keith David as Darkseid. He doesn't appear for very long in the second episode, but he's great. Speaking of the second episode, Dan, we mentioned this character way back when. He appears. He has a non-speaking role, but he does appear. Codpiece. He actually fucking appears.
They got Codpiece.
Oh, and I
my
saw
God, they got
I
Codpiece.
mentioned that on the show. Yeah, he shows up. He's like a background character, but that was really funny.
Dude, that's hilarious.
But yeah, this show, it's a ton of fun. It's definitely like gory, vulgar, has a lot of like shocking stuff, like sometimes has like pee and throw up, but it can be kind of gross at times, which it can throw people off. Yes. Yeah, Codpiece, there he is. And it was
I mean, Angelina, I don't think you were here for this. John, do you want to quickly give her the back? Because the background of this character is amazing. Like the reason. For
he thought somebody made fun of his size down there, so he decided to become a supervillain where he gave himself a giant gun where his genitalia is, and that's how he robbed banks with that. This is the type of shit you don't see in mainstream media, and it's ridiculous. And he's a Doom Patrol villain, and the Doom Patrol are definitely weird characters when Grant Morrison took over. So yeah.
Yeah, they got Codpiece. Codpiece is in the show. This is just fantastic. I just love this. I mean, Kite Man, hell yeah. The show has a 91% critic score on Rotten Tomatoes, and the audiences love it. Now, granted, this is a TV show, so you can't really look at it the same way because there's not as many reviews as there are usually for movies. But
yeah,
it's a good.
And there's only 2 episodes.
It's right. I mean, it's still pretty early, but overall, so far, it's enjoying a lot of success.
It's really fun. It's a really fun time. It's definitely one of those like. It shines a light on weirder characters you don't know, like fucking Codpiece and like all that and all that shit. So like I really like that, and I think I don't know who voices Kite Man. I keep forgetting. Like all the voice actors do a really great job. Unfortunately, I know Keith David. I know Lance Reddick. They all do a really good job. They're all really funny. Jonathan Banks is in it as well. He's Noonan, former bar owner of Noonan's.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then Keith David's a fucking legend. Lance Reddick, he will forever be missed for how fucking amazing he always was.
I still can't believe he's not with us anymore. I loved him in Friends.
He's
That
really
was where
good as
I
Lex
first saw
Luthor.
him. Yeah.
Like, God, he's so funny as Lex Luthor. Because it's like Lance Reddick didn't really do like a ton of like a lot of comedy driven stuff. So the fact he does this is like a nice change. See, there he is. You could wait, go back to that picture. There he is, right in front of Parasite. Zoom in.
Oh yeah.
There he is.
That's funny.
I see him like the purple. This front of the purple character. Yeah, I see him.
That's Parasite. But yeah, there he is. Codpiece.
Yep.
But yeah, it's on Max. If you don't have Max, feel free to ride the high seas and try to find a link somewhere. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's really weird. It's not for everybody. Like the comedy can be kind of gross sometimes and it doesn't always hit, but I found it to be really fun. It's really funny. It's really cute. Like their relationship is like weirdly like wholesome. They're like, even though they kind of like bicker sometimes, they're still like in the end, they're like, I love you so deeply, but I also love you so deeply. And it's just like it seems like a very like, like it's a nice relationship because we see like a lot of like relationships in like main media of like, oh, they have to like have drama and all this shit. It's like, no, they're a perfect couple. And I love that so much. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. Again, only 2 episodes. They're less than half an hour. Since it's a comedy show, it's like 20
It's a quick watch.
So it's a nice breezy watch and they're a lot of fun. And it's just like, who would have thunk that we would have fucking gotten Kite Man as a headliner for a show? Condiment King has not appeared yet. I hope he does, because he would be perfect for this show. But the Secret Six character, I always forget his name on the far right. I never remember his name, but he's part of Secret Six. But yeah, he God, he's so ridiculous, but love him as well. And then you have the Top in the background. Polka Dot Man makes an appearance. You have a lot of like characters that
it was
like
David
hardcore
Dashmalchian's
DC
birthday
fans would
today,
know in like the background
way.
who don't have like a ton of speaking roles. So yeah, I think that's it's really fun, and I really enjoyed it, and I think a lot of people will enjoy it because it's a good fun time. It's ridiculous, and it does have Harley Quinn in the first episode, but she's not there for very long, so it's fine. But yeah, overall, good stuff so far. I can't wait to watch more, and yeah, it's gonna be great. Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. By the way, I was gonna say, speaking of Polka Dot Man, I believe it was yesterday was David Dastmalchian's birthday, and James Gunn wished him happy birthday on Instagram. I was, who of course played Polka Dot Man, right? Like in the Suicide Squad movie, the Suicide Squad. So yeah, but hey, this is not the only piece of DC news. There was, you mentioned this earlier, you hinted at it, but Kevin Feige was recently asked about all these, photos from the set of Superman and how people are like looking at it and like, oh my god, these look terrible. This costume looks terrible, and he basically said that, look, these are behind the scenes photos. I'm sure it's going to look great. And then he was asked about, do you think there's a possibility of a crossover between Marvel and DC? And now that, of course, he's got his old pal James Gunn over running DC, do you think there's a chance? Because he certainly thinks that it's not a zero-sum game, that there is a possibility. Angelina, do you think, if you go by the comments of Kevin Feige, where he says, look, it's not like we haven't thought and talked about it, so never say never, essentially. But while there are no plans right now, do you think there's a chance that once the DCU gets up and running, that they, some Batman could run into Iron Man or maybe into Deadpool or something like that? Is that a possibility?
I think that would be weird. They've worked so hard to separate the universes at this point. If there was a crossover between the DCU and Marvel, I'd be like, y'all, it's just too much. It's just y'all just doing too much now. That's how I would feel about it. Because it's already enough to have to keep track of like everything that was like previously Sony or previously Fox owned and what crosses over and what doesn't cross over into the new universe. I feel like at this point, the next new Marvel movie that comes out, I'm going to have to rewatch the whole thing. Like, there's just too many moving pieces for them to now be like, yeah, we're actually also thinking about doing a crossover episode regularly between the DCU and Marvel, and you have to forget about the DCEU and all of the Sony stuff. But no, my answer is no. I will boycott at that point.
Yeah, I just think it's too much. Also, I wanted to correct myself. The character was not from Secret Six. It was Six Pack. He is a friend of Hitman Tommy Monahan in DC Comics, and he was part of Section 8. That was my bad. I wanted to, because it was going to bother me if I didn't say anything. But anyway, I totally agree. I just, segregate Marvel and DC, keep them separate. Have them be their own things. Like, I know that there was like the Amalgam comics, like way back when, and like there was like a whole thing with like Marvel and DC. It's just, there were so many close calls. Like, I remember when DC was like going bankrupt in the 70s, they're like, oh, it might combine with Marvel. Marvel went bankrupt in the 90s.
Yep.
They were going to get bought
and
out.
Like, Warner Brothers should have bought them at that point. Like, in hindsight, but
yeah. So it's just like, there were a lot of close. I think they should just stay separate. Like, don't infect Marvel's bullshit with DC's bullshit. Don't infect DC's bullshit with Marvel's bullshit. Like, it's just keep their bullshit separate.
I agree.
Keep it separate. It's just like it's.
I mean,
it's
also
too much
the Watchers.
Already,
yeah. The Watchers comment, I think, lays it out nicely. Like, you got to let the DC brand kind of recover and the DCU get there with the general audience before you could truly. You could do a Crisis on Infinite Earths, another Secret War sort of a thing, and then have a crossover sometime down the road. I just don't think we're there yet because there's a new universe being established on the DC side of things, and even Marvel sort of has to do a bit of a soft reset. So I don't think we're there yet. So maybe like you said, like the Watcher, like 10, 15 years. But Trey Daniel had a good question. I mean, John, just quickly, what if what if Glen Powell became Hal Jordan, and what if Jake Gyllenhaal, we've talked about before, became Batman? And Angelina, you were, I think, liked the idea, or no? I don't know. If we're talking about.
I like Glen Powell better as Hal Jordan. I don't like Jake Gyllenhaal as Batman.
I think Glen Powell could be also a good Booster Gold. I think I mentioned him. Right. He's popular.
Oh, we've talked about that many times.
Yeah. I think Jake Gyllenhaal would be a really good Batman. I think he has the edge for it. It's just Bruce Wayne. I think Nightcrawler is a good example of him doing two different personalities very well. Like the sort of like, although that's more like sadistic guy, and then like just like a faux personality of like a nice guy who tries to get his way. But I feel like Jake Gyllenhaal could do two different personalities very well, and I think he could do brooding, and I think he could do Bruce Wayne very well.
I've just seen him in too many B movies lately that I've completely like.
Yeah, I'm aware of that. Yeah.
I just don't know why. Obviously, like, a man's got to work, right? But like, I feel like he should have been a little more careful with his career if he wanted to play somebody like Batman. You know what I mean? Like, I just feel like he's been playing too many B-rated. I haven't seen him in like a really good movie theater cinema hit in how long? 15 years? 10 years? It's been a long time.
That's not completely true. I mean, what was that movie? What was the movie that he was in? Where he was like running around as a journalist at night.
Yeah, Nightcrawler. Yeah, that was about 10 years.
Yeah, and I don't even think that came out. I don't even think that came out in theaters. I think it came out on streaming, didn't it?
I think it came out in theaters, but
no, because it was during COVID. That's when that movie came out.
I thought it was before COVID. No.
Oh yeah, no, it was way before. It was 2014 that movie came out.
Oh, so it was 10 years ago. Yeah, I'm just like.
I mean, I've heard he's good in Presumed Innocent because I know he's doing that now.
I think, if anything, Jake Gyllenhaal was chasing after.
Oh, he was in fucking Spider-Man. Like, he was in Far From Home. That was
I like that
which was like 5 years ago. Yeah. So yeah, he
seems like it was last year, but it's been
Not me even. I was like, I don't even. It's over my head.
Yeah, but he was also in Ambulance. That was. I don't know if that was a hit, but like it was popular because it was Michael Bay.
It wasn't. we talked about it wasn't a hit, but it was a good
It
movie.
wasn't
If you
good.
like it, you like it. If you don't like it, it's not.
It's not.
But I did want there's a couple more things, guys, before we finish up. John, you sent this to me. This is something that I think it kind of ties into the fact that we're about to get a trailer for this movie.
Yes.
Joker Fall You Do is the next DC movie of any kind on the calendar. And the
Yes,
Venice
sir.
Film Festival, this year's Venice Film Festival, is about to announce this lineup. I think that happens tomorrow, which is now we know it's going to be the same day as the next Joker trailer comes out. And we got this updated synopsis. So I will kind of zoom into this. I found this article mentioning it on Ion Cinema, and they're covering the Venice Film Festival. So this is a little different than what we have seen before, because the synopsis that was officially released a while ago was a little shorter. This one's a bit more specific. It mentions the two fall madly in love, referring to Arthur Fleck's Joker and Harleen Quinzel, which is of course played by Lady Gaga, and their experience musical madness through their shared delusions, referring to the title Joker Fall You Do, while Fleck's followers start a movement to free him from Arkham, ultimately giving rise to the clown prince of crime's criminal empire. What do you think about this idea? Of course, this kind of confirms that the first trailer showed us.
Yes.
That this definitely feels like a musical. They're gonna have like 20 songs in this movie. But it also confirms that Joker has a bit of a following, like maybe a bit of a cult-like following behind him that's
Yes.
gonna lead to his rise as a clown prince of crime. But how do you think Harleen Quinzel now fits into this? Also, Harleen Quinzel, like we now know, we're not just going with just Harley Quinn. Like there's gonna be maybe an evolution to that character.
Yes, most definitely.
What are you thinking about now? Does this give you any more insight into the movie?
I mean,
especially like we know Zazie Beetz is coming back, and
yeah, I mean, it's pretty much like confirms like what we saw in the trailer. Like he's gonna fall in love with her. It's gonna be like you had like his followers like kind of like he was like, I think he was on a bus and he was like being transported somewhere, and like his followers were like outside chanting for him. It's interesting that a character like Joker would have like a empire, because the Joker isn't really an empire-esque character. Like he doesn't really have an empire. So I think that that's very interesting. And I like how I'm curious with how like the Harley Quinn thing will do, because as I mentioned many times, I don't like that character, but I'm curious with what Todd Phillips is going to go with here. And I like Lady Gaga. I think that's a really good casting decision for that character. And I think she actually might do something interesting with it that isn't just like hashtag girl boss queen yas like that Harley Quinn has been for the past like 15 years. So I think I think she'll actually do something interesting with the character, and Joaquin Phoenix will have, I hope they have good chemistry, but I like, the musical vibe of like, because like the whole thing of like musicals is like, it's kind of like a delusional space, because it's like, it's so out of reality where like everyone literally stops to sing and dance, and like people in the background will sing and dance with them. So I think that like invites the idea of criminal insanity like to it, like in a weird like meta kind of way. So I'm interested with how they'll do that, and I like how like it looks like fake sets. Like I mentioned this before, it like looks like it kind of has like a German expressionist kind of vibe to it as well. And I like what they're doing, and I'm even if I wasn't a fan, I would at the very least be fucking curious with how Todd Phillips executes this thing, because it's gonna be bonkers at the very least. Like it's gonna be a weird time. Whether that's gonna be executed well, who knows? But I'm at the least curious. At the most, I'm excited for it because it's unique. I'll give it that.
I mean, Angelina, what are your expectations of this movie? This was pegged as one of the movies that would potentially could make $1 billion. The last Joker movie made $1 billion. It's the only rated R movie to ever make that kind of money, like to certainly cross the $1 billion threshold. And in a year now, where we have the third Deadpool movie coming out, Deadpool and Wolverine, which is looking like he's gonna make that kind of money with the $1 billion. Do you think Joker 2 can kind of live up, Joker Fall You Do, to the heights of the first one, which really just, it was one of those movies where like Top Gun Maverick, like Barbie, like Barbenheimer, like where it just caught the public's imagination and it just blew up. to the point they doubled the budget. The last one was made for like 75 million. This one is made for like twice as much, if not more. And of course, you add Lady Gaga to the mix. Like, what are your thoughts about and the expectations for the movie? And do you think there's any more to glean from that new synopsis?
You know, I sort of in a way wanted to disagree with John a little bit in the sense that the Joker wouldn't have a following, because I feel like every time I'd ever seen him, he, like, especially in the older cartoons, he did have a following. Like, he was always kind of the mastermind behind a lot of things. Like, it was always like he would send like his little minions, but he was always a mastermind. So to me, in that way, he sort of is like a meta character in the sense that he's always been like behind the scenes, sort of coordinating and pulling strings as the villain, obviously, to Batman for the longest time. So I've always thought of the Joker as being like a really brilliant character. Like, he's obviously fucking crazy, but I do think in his like weird crazy, he is very intelligent. So that all makes sense to me. As far as Lady Gaga is one of those people that's like, you never would think that she can fucking act, but the girl actually, she can get her done. I mean, she can do it. And I didn't really see that side of her until A Star Is Born. And I was so thoroughly shocked and impressed by her. I'm just forever excited to see her on screens again. I think she really brings like a rawness and an authenticity to people. Also, this still is crazy and awesome. Like, she is the perfect casting for this. I don't know. Yeah, I think it's going to make $1 billion for sure. It's going to also depend on what is released around it, but I'm very excited for it. I'm hoping that Joaquin Phoenix gets a little bit of a comeback from the last movie we got to see him in, because that was a little sad. It's a long movie.
Yeah, it's gonna be. It was a very long movie. Which is probably why it didn't make as much money. Napoleon being the one that we were talking about.
Yeah.
I liked it. Whatever.
I mean, John, there's also, of course, that, you know, we now know for sure. I saw this on YouTube. You can go and sit there in the chat and talk about, you know, what you're looking forward to with the trailer. This new trailer,
9 hours.
Trailer.
9 hours, 9 minutes.
9 hours, pretty much. Yeah, it's 9 hours, 9 minutes, 9 seconds. It was a few seconds ago. I didn't even do that intentionally. But what are your expectations from this new trailer, John? What are you looking to get that you didn't get from the previous trailer?
Like, more of a better vibe of what the film is. Obviously, I don't want to see too much, because I believe that trailers shouldn't spoil the entire movie. I think they can give it a little tidbit, but I don't. I hope that, you know, it gives us a little bit more, but not too much.
Yeah. I mean, for one, the first trailer gave us the vibe of the film. It told us exactly what this film's going to feel like, you know, from a sensory perspective. Very vividly so. And of course, it introduced us to first look at Lady Gaga, and of course, seeing Arthur Fleck back and getting to see just some of the mad, you know, they showed a lot of sequences, but it was really this. It was like a show reel, right, of the movie, and that's what the first teaser trailer is meant to do. This trailer, especially given that it's a few months out and getting very close to Comic-Con, and it's now going into Venice Film Festival, you're going to start seeing reviews and first reactions. I hope this trailer gives us more of a sense of this story, which obviously the synopsis we talked about gives us a summary, but I really want to see how this all ties together now. Like, what are the pieces? Where do we begin? And I'm not saying give me the whole movie, but like, give me a little more than what the first trailer did. Right, like, and the first trailer was so impressive. I'm like, the bar is really, really high. Particularly, John, the way that first trailer ends is absolutely fantastic. With like, you just tying back to how the two characters come together. It looks like they're gonna escape Arkham in some capacity, and you know, the shared madness. That idea of the shared madness, it really blows me away. Plus, this movie is gonna be playing an IMAX 70mm as well, and you could tell the scale of this movie. With the extra budget that they had, they're really taking advantage of that. It's going to be on a much larger scale, kind of like what we saw with the Batman almost, where the movie is going to feel big and the world of Joker is expanding. So I'm looking forward to that very much so. But before we finish up, we do have some comments. John, we talked about Batman last Friday, because what brought it up was the Batman, well, not the Batman, but Batman as a character, was sort of put down. Let's just say that by Anthony Starr, of course, who
Yes.
plays Homelander on The Boys, and he wasn't mincing his words. He basically said, "Hey, Batman was a great character for me growing up, but then I grew up, and now he's just a man with just a dude with toys, and that's about it."
Yeah.
If people didn't really take kindly to that, which I think is fair.
Very
So
fair.
let's take a look at some of those comments. Angelina, you can kind of chime in on this as well if you'd like. But My Dream in Orbit 9297 said, "It's not what toys Batman has, but what he stands for that makes him a hero. Personally, I can't wait for the boys to end." Now, of course,
Yeah, pretty much.
It looks like he's a fan of the character.
Yeah.
What do you think, John?
I think that's pretty much on the money, and that showcased, by the way, wanted to quickly mention the new Cape Crusader poster that we forgot to mention last time. But yeah, great looking poster, very, very cool. Shows a lot of, got Automatopoeia in there. You got new Harley Quinn. You have Catwoman. I think Harvey Dent is in there as well. So cool poster, by the way. But yeah, hard agree. Like he's not. It's just like, oh, it's a guy with toys. I mean, I feel like you're misreading that. It's funny how Boy You was smarter than Present You. That's really, really interesting how your boy past
Tell him,
self
John.
was,
Tell him.
very smart,
Tell
and
him how
now
you feel.
you kind of grew into a kind of a fucking idiot. But that's beside the point. All said by a guy who plays a character whose weakness is titty milk. Like that's making fun of a character whose legion of his legacy will forever outreign this fucking character you're playing, who won't be remembered in like a couple years time. So yeah, get on it, Anthony Starr. just go full, just act, get on your pedestal and get on your soapbox and just have some fun, because God knows you won't be remembered. Homelander won't be remembered in like 10 years time. So have fun.
Yeah. By the way, Troy Daniel, I do think that Lady Gaga has a shot at winning some awards. I mean, of course, Joaquin Phoenix won an Oscar for his performance in Joker. So Lady Gaga has missed with like her recent movies like The House of Gucci, but she can, she's got the talent. So we'll see. It depends on how good this movie, of course, is going to be. Joker
Yeah.
All You Do. But John, this comment, I was laughing at this for quite some time.
Yeah.
It looks like Commander
Oh,
Shepard.
I've gotten that type of
7728.
comment for years.
Yeah, he's like, leave your basement, dude. John, explain to us
Interesting.
why that's
Because I am in my room, which is on the second floor. I don't know if you could see. I'm gonna introduce more of my room. See this curtain right here? This is a window, and look, it's a window. It's clearly showing I'm not in a basement. I'm on the second floor of a house. I know that's a little kind of sheds some light onto where I am, but like it also kind of dampers.
There is
on
no
your
light
argument.
being shed in that room. You've got blackout curtains over the only window. What do you mean?
It's not the only one. I have another window right here. I can't show you that one. It would be more awkward.
Wow.
But I mean, plus it's also midnight where we are, and it's very late. So obviously there's no light shining. Usually I have the curtains open, but I don't want serial killers to look at me in my sleep, so I keep them
From
closed.
the second floor?
You'd be shocked. You know what? You're a white girl. You fucking probably watch true crime in your spare time. Don't even fucking go there. You probably watch Dateline.
I listen to true crime podcasts too.
Yeah,
Crime
so shut up.
podcasts.
Like, you should be more paranoid than me. Shut the fuck up.
I'm not. Anyway. Yeah, I'm not that paranoid about stuff. I think because I have taken great strides to feel safe in my environments. But yeah.
Great. I'm just saying, you never know. But
nightlight
I'm not in a basement.
I'll throw that out there. Just put a nightlight in your in your room. It'll be fine.
I don't put a nightlight on in my room. I'm okay with that.
Oh,
but yeah, I'm not in a basement. Sorry to damper,
that's what
sir.
Yeah.
But I am.
I
I'm
did
on the second
respond
floor.
to that comment. Yeah. I was like, hey, for the record, John is not in his basement, but I did get a good laugh.
Hey, for the record.
For the record.
For the record.
There's a couple other comments.
He's not in his basement. What kind of response is that? You sound like Ed and Eddie. No, for the record. This is roasting hour from Angelina. Hi guys. How are you doing?
Yeah. Okay, why don't you just leave the roasting to the professionals? Anyway, so let's move on to that last comment, or the second to last comment, because I have
There's
something to say about this one. Not Anthony
So-
Starr levels of dumb, but still pretty dumb.
Jose 405 said technically he wasn't wrong though. Batman is not a superhero. He's talking about he being Anthony Starr. He has no superpowers, that being Batman. As of Suicide Squad 22, he's hinted at now being a metahuman. So supposedly he has superpowers, but that's not totally confirmed by DC and probably never will. So as of now, he's still not a superhero.
I just want to zoom in. Okay. Zoom in on me right now. Right now. I need to fucking say this. Okay. I'm just going to say this perfectly. I know people joke like, hey, billionaires, why don't you become Batman? Why don't you do something? I know people. Can you not like under fucking stand how literally impossible it would be to be Batman? This man is not even like people joke like he's the most dangerous man on earth. He's more than a man. He's not a man. That thing, it scares me. He is literally peak human condition. He has muscles on top of his muscle, an unachievable a body that he can achieve. He has genius level intellect. He knows every martial art on the planet perfectly, is one of the best fighters in the DC universe. He lives on perpetually 2 hours of sleep every day. He has forensic level knowledge. He's the world's greatest detective. Can you not that is literally Batman is an impossible human to exist. Literally impossible. Like the whole point of that character was that, oh yeah, he's a human man, but he's really not, because it's comic books. It's fantastical. He has to live among people where Superman and Wonder Woman exist and Aquaman exist, where these people can achieve these wonders. So they have to, kind of zhuzh him up a little bit. Yeah, he's a darker, more realistic kind of super, but he's still unachievable. It's still fantastical. Batman cannot fucking exist because it's an unachievable standard by humanity. Like he can't exist. He can, like, I would love to see the guy who's like, oh yeah, my most, like he makes his own like technology that is not even close to being achievable nowadays, not even in our technically advanced society. So don't even fucking go, oh, he's not a superhero, because his superness from the superhero part is the fact he's like you cannot achieve that. I'd love to see you like in a couple years turn around and be like, oh yeah, I can fucking do that, and then like do that. I'd love to see people try to be Batman. It's impossible. You would have to be like the ultimate super soldier to even try, and even then it wouldn't work. So calling him not a superhero because he doesn't have powers is fucking ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It makes you sound like an idiot. Like it sounds like you again, it sounds like the type of person that watched the fucking Nolan trilogy and think they know everything about Batman. And I fucking hate those people. You like pick up a fucking couple of comics and then come back to me. How about fucking that? He's a superhero, whether you want to fucking believe it or not. So shut the fuck up and then come back to me when you actually know what you're fucking talking about. How about that?
I think that's a fair response. But with that, there's one more comment. So like, which I think, John, you will have a much better reaction
hard
to.
agree.
Riley095, he said Homelander sucks as a person, so this guy has legit no standing to criticize other characters' moral character.
He kind of lost me in the grammar a little bit right there, but like, dog. But yeah, he hard agree.
But yes, I mean, basically, he was saying that Anthony Starr's character is pretty morally corrupt. So, although I don't know how that exactly qualifies or disqualifies him from commenting on Batman, but certainly the comments that Anthony Starr made were pretty tone deaf. And I think, in hindsight, you got to respect the fact that Batman is one of the, biggest and most important
legacy
characters
will be unmatched.
So
by anybody like Homelander. Yes. Fuck him.
Yeah.
Anyway.
By the way, Angelina, I think we have found Crypto. If James Gunn is looking,
they found him.
This is Morris. Morris Masubi, say hi. He's like a little awkward on this chair. He's too big to be on here.
He's like, Ma, let me down. I don't want to be. No, stop.
He's like,
Please.
how do I? He's like, how do I do this? Hello. This is Morris, everybody. He was like, Mom, what are you doing? It's time to watch Netflix. Hello. Hello. Yeah, John's rant low key spiked my cortisol levels, so I just needed to pick up the dog really quick.
Sorry. But we have doggo, so that's complaining.
We have dog now. Everything's fine. Yeah, I mean, I don't like Homelander at all. I don't like the character. There's nothing about
I mean,
him
you're not
to like.
supposed to, unless you're an idiot, but that's
Yeah,
beside the
I
point.
know, but quite frankly, like, you would
Yeah.
think over that many seasons, Morris is like, I'm sick of it. You would think over that many seasons, you would find something about him that is like somewhat relatable.
Nope.
No. There's nothing in him that is
He's
like
just
redeemable at
he's
all.
literally the most one-dimensional character. He's just like, what if Superman was an asshole? Which I'm so sick of. And again, that's a
Yeah.
discussion for another day because it's midnight and I kind of want to go to sleep.
Yeah, it's just too much. So
Yeah.
whatever.
Well, guys, we'll wrap it up with a look ahead to what's going to be happening likely later on this week on DCU Daily. We have got not only a trailer for the Joker Fall You Do coming out literally hours from now that we'll react to tomorrow, but then later this week, towards the end of the week, we're getting the first full trailer for Superman and Lois. So the final season of the show, we got Doomsday there, Superman. John, I know you're looking forward to it. And of course, we'll be here talking all about it, breaking the trailer down. But it's been another fantastic episode of Oh So Curious, and we tied in DCU Daily as we always do on Mondays. So it's been fantastic, guys. Thanks for watching so much. From The Watcher to Ron, Trey, Fiona, everybody who dropped in and left some comments. Buster Barnes was in there earlier. So if you didn't get to see us live and drop your questions in the live chat, then drop them in the comments below. We'll address them on the next show, regardless of whether
you might be
you're
featured.
commenting on John's whereabouts or you're commenting.
Yeah, Eric
on,
Kripke is going to come to my house with a knife. Yeah, but I have a bigger knife.
Well, at
so
least
watch
you're
out,
in
Eric
the
Kripke.
basement, so he'll have a hard time finding you.
Apparently so.
Apparently so. I mean, it's we'll get back to that. Maybe when it's sunlight out, you can prove that is an actual window and not just a window
Not
that
just
leads
like
to a wall.
painted.
Painted.
Like
Yeah. We'll have to find confirmation of that some other
John's
time.
actually
But guys,
a
thanks for
basement.
Yes, I'm a basement dwelling incel, as the kids would say. But
Okay. On that note, guys, like and subscribe.
I've been called
as
worse.
always. Hit the notification bell. And we will bring our self-aware, deprecating humor. And
Self-deprecating humor.
Self-deprecating. Yes. There we go. It's late, guys. It's late in the night. This is like midnight. It's literally midnight on East Coast, and it's getting to be pretty late out on the West Coast as well, Angelina. So we will get back to it with DCU Daily tomorrow. Lots more to talk about the new Joker Fall You Do trailer, and then of course we'll be back with another Oh So Curious next week, reviewing, of course, Deadpool and Wolverine. So check back here for that. And until next time, guys, thanks so much, Angelina and John, and everybody watching. We will see you here on another episode of Oh So Curious.